is about to begin. With three white dudes coming at you with some heat. Welcome to School of Hot Takes.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here with my co-host D Spice and Brain, it looks like. We are here at the School of Hot Takes, coming at you with some playoff reaction and playoff talk and just everything football playoff related. But first, how are we doing? How was your weekend? What was going on?
Go ahead, Brian.
All right, thank you. Thanks. Well, Saturday I got really drunk and finished the Steelers game. I started by just cracking a beer and I ordered Domino's and I was like, this is gonna be a great night. I got my coveted Antonio Brown jersey on. It was great. Great start to the night. And then I don't know, around halfway through the second quarter. I took a bottle of Japanese whiskey and I pretty much finished it off. There was maybe like that much left in there. I was like, you know what? I'm cruising the rest of the night, baby. And that's how I enjoyed the rest of that game. So good times. It was a good weekend of football. I saw every single game. I'm gonna get some hate. Every playoff game I watched except for the Commanders Bucks game last night because I was fucking gassed. But I did watch some highlights from that game. Obviously, I know the result. So hey, shout out to the DMV, I guess. Shout out Terrence,
Yeah.
friend of the podcast, Terrence Green. Shout out. He had a great, heartwarming text message to the group this morning. So shout out to him.
Bill, how about you? How was your football viewing experience this weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty solid. What was the first game Saturday?
Chargers Texans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I missed. I was traveling. I didn't get. I was stuck in a fucking airport. Kept getting like 40 layovers. So I didn't get to see really much of that. I had to look up highlights of that. I was honestly kind of shocked, but yeah. Then I watched the rest of the games. Feels pretty bad to be a Steelers fan,
Right.
honestly, at this point. But yeah, no, I mean my weekend was fine. Yeah, other than that, how about you?
Well, NFL wise, Steelers lost, which I expected them to. I think we all sort of expected the Steelers to lose. Um, they sort of came back in the second half, but it really was too late to even matter. Um, Funny though, I did watch the Penn State game in a movie theater with 10 other people. So it was an experience to say the least.
Which was a good game for like
Yeah, it
95%.
it was a good game. The news showed up and tried to get some clips of everyone. It was
Nice.
it was really weird, but it was fun.
10 losers at local movie theater watching Penn State.
Right.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, it's a good idea. I like the fact that the theater tried it. I
Yeah.
mean,
If they
if
would have
it,
done like
Well,
wings and like had a little party, that would have been kind of cool.
well, at first they turned the game on and they had it set to Notre Dame's radio broadcast. Like they were streaming the game from their radio booth, and it was like in the way up top in the corner of the field, and you couldn't even see anything. And everyone was bitching and complaining. It was like, this can't be the game that we're watching.
Yeah,
Uh,
that'd be cursed.
Yeah.
Speaking of the random playoff memory, I was just thinking about this too, and then you reminded me of it, Dylan. Shout out the bar in Baltimore that we used to live by, Butts and Betty's. That
yeah.
did every Ravens playoff game. They did free shots every time there was a touchdown scored by the Ravens, and
God.
they had free food. It was just a small little dinky little neighborhood bar, and they had a full spread of like wings and pizza and veggies and dip, and then free Jello shots and shit every
Oh
time
God, yeah.
they scored.
So many jealous
It
shots.
was it was so much fun. And that was the year that they lost to the Titans. We went to that bar for that game, the playoff game where it was
I
like
was so depressed.
ironically
Yeah, Derrick
Ironically,
Henry.
Derrick Henry went the fuck off and beat the Ravens out of the playoffs that year. But that was a really
Dude,
fun game to watch. Really cool
that
experience.
was 2019, right?
Yeah, it would have been right before COVID, 2020, February,
Yeah.
January of
I
2020.
remember the hype. That was Lamar's first MVP season. Whenever he was going off, and everyone was like, "Dude, this is about to be a thorough waxing." And then
Yeah.
Tennessee just put the nuts down. It was gross.
Yeah, that game kind of started the Lamar's not a playoff performer narrative as well because he really struggled in that game and Tennessee just kind of took off. So a
I
weird
still
game though.
follow that narrative. I mean, he played the Steelers so far this year. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
Hey,
well,
but
we'll
he,
get
like you
into it.
said, he's had the monkey on his back for a long time from the Steelers in general, and like he's played back to back games where he's thoroughly outplayed every person on the Steelers. So like I'm going to give him a little more. Like I'm pretty big on that as well. I earlier this year called him the James Harden of the NFL, but so far he's proven me. I need to see it now against the Bills. Like that, this is going to be his first real test against like a true team. So.
Super relevant comparison, by the way.
Yeah. Well, let's get into our hot take of the week here. We have our surprising take by Brian. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's surprising. I volunteered this because one of the things that I use to judge on whether a take is hot on at all is just like, do I see anybody else really saying it? And I haven't heard anybody else say this. I think the Patriots coaching situation did not play out the way that we think it did. I've been seeing a lot of people call Gerard Mayo an idiot because he won that last game and he took their draft position from 1 to 4 or whatever it is now. I think Gerard Mayo knew he was getting fired, and that win was like a stick it to the man win. Um, and you're gonna take them where you can get them. And I think the proof I have for this is that the Patriots went from firing him to in less than 7 days hiring, what's his name? Complete. I'm sorry, guys. I'm tired. I'm blanking on his name.
Oh,
The old Tennessee Titans coach.
yeah, Vrabel. Geez, yeah,
Yeah, Mike
yeah, Vrabel.
Vrabel.
Yeah,
Mike
Mike
Vrabel.
Vrabel.
So in less than like you do not hire a head coach in less than a week unless you knew you were hiring that head coach beyond that week. And so my suspicion is a little bit that um Gerard Mayo knew that going into that week. Hey, said, "Hey guys, like this is my last game with you guys. Like I'm not coming back." They told me, somebody told me, and decided to win and stick it to the man. And that sucks because I'm seeing a lot of people kind of act like that's the reason that he got fired is because he won a game that they should have lost. And my take is that he knew he was gone, the Patriots knew he was gone, and that was one last middle finger out the door. And that kind of makes me respect Gerard Mayo just a little bit more. So again, not a super hot take, but I'm seeing a lot of people dunk on Gerard Mayo and dunk on the Patriots. And in reality, I think Gerard Mayo is kind of a cold dude for doing that. He owes nothing to that franchise. That
Right.
franchise gave him nothing to work with this year and then fired him as soon as they could for Mike Vrabel, who's not guaranteed to be any better, if I'm being completely honest. So, yeah,
Also,
that's
I think he needed this win to like, I mean, somewhat boost his, coaching, I guess, higher ability. So like
Yeah,
if he's going to another team, like, it's
he's
still
gonna
one
need to
extra
get.
win, but it does look a little bit better that you were able to, end the season on a high sort of note. You know what I mean?
Well, and the Patriots, like literally right after the game, had already released this like a very long, well thought out statement, as if like, yeah, they made this shit up a long time ago.
Hmm.
And I also saw reports too that like Vrabel, like he contacted, what's his face, the head of the Patriots, like pretty directly a week before, and said, "Hey, I'm turning in my resignation at the Browns." And then
Mm,
when they cleared him. So yeah, I think I agree with Brian. I think this was in the works for
Right.
quite some time.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean they're definitely an exciting franchise. They've got the quarterback. They've got a good draft spot this year, but Um, I am not a fan of Robert Kraft as an owner. He kind of operates sort of as a GM too. He's kind of got that Jerry Jones in him. But yeah, fuck him. Shout out Gerard Mayo. Hopefully he lands a good defensive coordinator spot somewhere and kind of gets an opportunity to do something somewhere else. But I like that he gave that middle finger at the door. I'm sure everyone who hates their fucking boss, dude. Put it in the comments if you hate your boss. Gerard Mayo did that to the Patriots last week, so shout out to him.
Which has got to feel good, honestly. Like yeah, these guys are gonna fire me. At least I'll say fuck it. Well, I don't think anyone knew also that Joe Milton's the truth. He's everything and the truth. Like Joe Milton can ball, and he put it on display. So hopefully he gets to go
Yeah.
somewhere too.
Yeah, and I mean it's a good way. He was known as a player's coach, and it's a good way to go out showing, hey, my guys are going to play for me. That was sort of the locker room quotes I heard everyone say after the game was like, we don't care about draft picks. Like we're here to play, we're here to win. We don't care about draft picks. So that was a good way to close out the Patriots season. Mike Vrabel again, he's fine. So we'll see how he does with the Patriots here. I don't like how they did Gerard Mayo though.
Yeah, what they win 2 or 3 games. I think maybe he gets 5 or 6 at most. Maybe is what I give him. I'd give him like a
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
maybe a 2 game more of an edge is what I'd give him at most.
Yeah, I'd say they'd be. I mean, that's a tough division to make any
Oh yeah,
waves in. I saw a really good video by the YouTuber Football Analyst, which is a bad YouTube name, but he's a good good content creator, where he was talking about the Dolphins, kind of on the other side of that division, and how the Dolphins are in a really tough situation because their team is falling apart and they're in a division that is hard to win in, especially with the Bills coming on. The Jets are potentially going to be competitive depending on what their situation looks like. They've certainly got the talent on the team right now. The Patriots are on the come up. It's just a tough division. And yeah, I don't know if Mike Vrabel was enough of a game changer to take them from bottom five team to a playoff team. I think he's definitely better than Gerard Mayo. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, still they did him dirty, and that roster is really far off. Still, I think people are
yeah,
underrated a little bit or
yeah. They
overrated.
have no skill position guys. And the guy they took, the Polk guy or whatever from Washington, he hasn't really been. I don't think what they panned out. Drake May's been solid, but I feel like they could really use something. They could get some good picks probably with Joe Milton, and then obviously they're still a top 5 or whatever pick. So
Yeah. And I again, not to take this in a completely different direction again, but like I see a lot of people having them draft a receiver in the first round, and I still think they got to take a tackle, dude. They got to take one of those top two
Yeah.
tackles.
They need some
Either
O-line help pretty bad.
Yeah, they need to take Banks out of Texas or they need to take Campbell out of LSU. And if they don't do that, then I don't care if they draft McMillan or Hunter, like it does not matter. They're going to struggle on offense either way
mhm.
because that offensive line was the worst in the league, like by almost every single metric. They need to get a superstar tackle, and those two guys I think are good enough to kind of step right in and play. So,
Right. And no coaching is gonna change that aspect of it. Like if you don't sign an offensive line here, like it's
yeah.
you can bring Vrabel and all the top head coaches in or assistant coaches and specialty coaches you want, but if your offensive line is just gonna fail every week, play after play, he's gonna fail as well.
Well, I think he knows that too. Like Mike, why he was in Tennessee, he had a pretty good O line. That was like always one of their good calling cards for a
Hmm.
while. So I think he understands that. Like they never really had that good of a receiver besides AJ Brown. Other than that, like I can't really tell you that many good Tennessee Titans wide receivers under his kind of brain. I don't think he cares that much about it.
He
Right.
did technically draft AJ Brown.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that was it. Like it was
AJ
AJ
Brown.
Brown, and that was probably about it.
Yeah,
I'll definitely probably try to resurface Ramondre Stevens' career. I'm sure try to get him going.
great.
Yeah,
Looking forward to that.
hey, he was good for that. What was that? 2 years ago? Like I just remember in fantasy, he was serviceable at least.
Hmm. Cool. All right, well, let's get into our reactions to some playoff football here. Throughout the weekend, we had some college football games. What was your guys' initial reactions to these? Ohio State, Texas, and Notre Dame, Penn State. Any sort of thoughts going along with that?
Well, I mean, Ohio State, we kind of, I think we kind of alluded to this. We thought Ohio State would probably win, but it was a decent game until the second half. And then Ohio
Hmm.
State kind of pulled away. So that didn't really shock me. Uh, Drew Aller sucks. I mean, honestly, that's really my whole takeaway from the Penn State game is like that game was, it came obviously down to the last drive and whoever was going to play. And like Brian alluded to, he said this very thing is Penn State's going to lose because they're going to get outcoached, and that's exactly what happened. Is they got
Right.
outcoached at the very end. So, I mean, yeah, like that's what it is. And this isn't the greatest, I think, matchup that people were hoping for. But honestly, given the two sides, this is probably, if Penn State made it in like cool or Notre Dame, but like if you look at that whole side of the bracket, I really don't think, given that Georgia really wasn't Georgia anymore, I don't really know what was going to be the better matchup. I guess this is
Right.
probably the best, at least on that side.
Yeah, definitely. The stat that Penn State didn't have any passes to the wide receiver or like
I'm shocked.
completions is stupid. That's so annoying.
But I will give, this is the only thing I'll give credit for. James Franklin said that in his interview before, was like they asked him what is the biggest issue with Penn State, and he said receivers. He said that is like they don't have receivers, and he was very open about that. So I'll give him that he's aware of it. And I think I already saw they had two big name transfers already from other schools. So we'll see if they try to answer that. But
I also,
yeah, I mean, they're not the receivers sucked.
well, Drew Aller just didn't even look confident enough in the pocket to even like make any sort of attempt at a deep pass even. Like it was
Yeah, I
just
mean,
is those 5 yard dump
yeah.
passes or like a quick out route to the outside to the tight end or something along those lines. Like it wasn't any
Notre Dame, they play they play all man defense, and they're really good at what they do. So like
right.
you as a quarterback, you're not going to have these like huge open spots. And he's obviously Drew Aller's, I think, kind of like a zone god,
Mhm.
really great with his zone defense. But when it's man to man, and you have probably what like bottom tier receivers in the Big Ten, like what do you expect? Like obviously, it's not going to be good. And then if you know the Penn State at all, like if you watch any of them, they love to run the ball. Obviously, got two really good running backs, and that's what they tried to do, and it was working. And for some reason, classic Penn State, they're still going to be like, oh no, actually, we're going to try to flex, and we're going to try to pass the ball when clearly they could have just ran. I think if they just would have each running back 25 carries, probably could have just won doing that. Honestly,
Right.
what do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, Drew Aller definitely showed his colors there. I think this was even, not to make myself sound bad, but I even think James Franklin did okay for this game. He definitely
Game
um,
plan, yeah, yeah.
game planned a little bit better than I expected him to, but at the end of the day, like Drew Aller is not that good. I think this team it's interesting, in the group chat, we have a lot of Penn State fans and Penn State alum that are excited about all the players that are returning. Singleton and Katrin Allen just announced today that they're returning. Aller is obviously expected to return. So they're kind of running back a lot of that offense. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I really don't know if that's a good thing. I really don't know if that's a good
Yeah.
thing. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was mentioned that it might be good for Nick Singleton's draft stock, which sure probably is good for his draft stock. He's probably the only person that benefits from that. Drew Aller,
Mhm.
certainly I don't see taking a step. If he does, good for him. There will be a lot of eyes on him next year.
Right.
But I think the team as a whole they are in a tough situation next year. Um, I don't want to focus all of this talk on Penn State, even though we are Penn State centric here. Notre Dame played really well as
Mhm.
well. I'm a big fan of how that offense is run. They have a defensive-minded coach, and despite that, their offense is super efficient. They have a really good run game. Their quarterback is competent. He's a little bit underrated in these playoffs and has been the entire time. I think there were, people talking about all these quarterbacks, talking about, Drew Aller and talking about Jalen Quinn Ewers and talking about whatever the Georgia backup is, like talking about those guys as being potential game changers, and Leonard was not talked about that way, but he's really good. I think the better team won here is, that's all it is. And Penn State has a long way to go. I was trying to find these receivers that Dylan was talking about because I am not super in on the transfer portal stuff, but I will say seeing Cam Miller is transferring out of the school is a little bit alarming too. You're losing a top three cornerback in on your team there.
Right.
And that is another position that Penn State historically does not recruit well. So
Was that number six? Is that Cam Miller number six?
I think so. I have it pulled up here. It doesn't give the number.
Because that was the guy that fell and gave Notre Dame that like game-winning touchdown. He straight up just fucking fell over.
No, Cam Miller is number 5.
Okay, yeah, okay. Then number 6
Number
is the other guy. He said he's coming back. So I was
number
like,
6 is the other guy, and he's coming back.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like,
I did see they got the what's his face, the Alabama sophomore safety. They got him too, so that's good. They
right,
shored up a little bit with the safety.
Nice.
Mac.
Yeah, and what's the other DN that's pretty good. Denied Dennis Sutton is coming back, and he had that really nice pick in the game, so that's good for them. But obviously, when you lose, what's his face, fucking, they're really good edge rusher that I'm just drawing a blank. What's his name?
Abdul.
Yeah, Abdul
yeah.
Carter. Yeah, like losing him is going to be tough, but yeah, I mean, they for some reason they always seem to have like these crazy rushers come out of nowhere, but it's offensively like they just can't figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
They're going to have another good tight end. That's always what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see how Penn State develops. And yeah, one other take to kind of start flipping this over here. I'm really glad that our championship teams didn't have to play in the conference title. I'm glad that they got to sit out a game and get some extra rest. And that's probably why they were able to beat 2 teams that participated in their conference championship and lost. And I'm glad that it worked out for them.
Hey, those teams got to buy. Well, at least Oregon got to buy right before that. So at least Ohio State, Oregon was even.
Yeah, Oregon is a little bit unexcusable, but if you ask me, Ohio State took that week to probably game plan for Oregon, considering Oregon was thought of that game as a must-win game, as we all know. But college football plays by different rules now. That was not a must-win game for Oregon, and they probably showed their hand a little bit too much because they got outplayed by Ohio State. And yeah, this matchup is, if you would have told me this was the matchup at the beginning of the playoffs, I would have believed you. I think that, for some reason, I just saw Ohio State catching fire at the right time and winning the right games. Notre Dame, they've got a good path to get there in hindsight. When you look at it, like Indiana was the biggest fraud school and Georgia was playing with a backup. And then you got fucking Penn State. Buddy, like, okay. Like
Yeah.
and that's worst case scenario. You had Penn State to get to the championship game. Like best case scenario, you face Boise or SMU. So, I believe it. This is probably what both teams, have prepared all year for. Looking to make a splash here at the end. So good stuff there. I don't know how you guys feel about that Ohio State Texas game. I think that was the better game that was probably the best game of the entire college football playoffs so far, and the better game.
First half was awesome, dude. I thought first half was really, really good.
Yeah, super
Great defense,
competitive
great
game.
defense.
Super competitive game. I don't understand. Quinn Ewers that guy is gonna piss me off, dude. I don't know what to say. Like scouting him, he has games where I'm like, this guy is like legitimately not a good quarterback. And then he'll have games and moments in games where I'm like, holy shit, he's great. Like I thought this was his best game of the college playoffs too so far. Like being able to improvise, he kind of showed some of the stuff that I liked about him last year, where he's kind of able to adapt to pressure and make some things happen. And then he ruins it at the very end because of a weird play call that is going to look like it's his fault when in reality, again, it was a bad play call.
Right.
And sorry, I'll end this tirade here in a second here. But I've seen people call for Arch Manning, and I'll tell you what, Arch Manning, if the call was a fucking crack toss to the left, like on the goal and 2 yards to get a touchdown to win the game, like Arch Manning would have also made that mistake because that was a terrible play call and
Right.
it was never going to work. So yeah, that was a tough ending for Texas, but they played an amazing game and they're looking much more promising next year than in the next couple of years too with Arch Manning. They're looking very promising.
Yeah, I look for. I heard someone say this the other day. Honestly, the 4 teams that were in there, they're probably going to be back in some facet. Like it'll probably be pretty similar. We're probably obviously going to see most of the same schools. Like I assume Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, those guys will be in it quite a bit. Penn State, I think out of the last 8 years, they said would be the team that would be in it the most, actually, just because they've been so consistent, like right outside of the top 4. So I assume they'll be back. I think it's kind of ironic. The number 1 team that's in the Quinn Ewers race is Ohio State for next year. That's the number one school going after him because he is reported to be not going to the NFL draft, which is probably smart for him. I think it's he's down to his final three, or the three schools that want him is Alabama, Ohio State, and it might be Notre Dame. So, which is ironic, it's those three. So we'll see how that goes for him.
One thing I wanted to bring up here was the Notre Dame coach,
Marcus
Freeman. There's been talks of him, like the Bears trying to interview him for
Yeah, he's
a head
not
coach
leaving.
position there. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I can't see a world where he's leaving this role like right now at all. Like,
No. Why would you leave a top like eight historic program to go maybe do good with the Bears? No
right.
way. No chance.
Yeah, no, there's a great quote about coaches where it's like, you don't want to be the guy after the guy, you want to be the guy after the guy who's after the guy, right? So you got to get somebody in there in between Eberflus to kind of get the team around on a good path, and then you want to go after a big candidate, which is why I'm really concerned about Ben Johnson if he took that job, because
Yeah,
Ben
I think
Johnson I think would struggle there. I think that would be a tough place for him to succeed.
Well, I saw a thing about that today is where like the reason he's been so hesitant is he doesn't want to take one of those jobs and completely fuck up the rest of his career. So he's been like super hesitant. That's why the Lions are like, yeah, dude, we'll give you $6 million a year to be our OC. Like, I would not leave if I'm Ben Johnson. I might not ever leave, to be honest, unless you really want to be a head coach. But like some of these guys have really, really good jobs as OCs and DCs, and I'm not sure. Like if you have a really good head coach, why would you ever like Steve Spagnuolo? He's going to just ride it out with Andy Reid probably for the rest of his life, and why wouldn't you? Like that's like I don't understand why some of these guys need to be head coaches.
They
Yeah.
get it in their head that they're, head coach
power,
capable and power trip basically. Like,
I feel
Man,
like
but like if you're Ben Johnson though, like dude, you've already got a great coach. You make a ton of money. Your offense is stupidly. You're not getting a better offense than that. I can promise you. Not anywhere you're ever going to get to go. Or you can have an
but they
offense.
have that power trip. Like, oh, if I was in charge, I would do this and get these teams,
Yeah,
and then we could compete. You know what I mean? Like, it's
yeah, sure you would. Look at all these like young,
right.
these young like offensive geniuses. Everyone keeps calling like Mike McDaniels. That's probably where he would turn out, something like that. First year, he might take everything by storm and then would fizzle out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate Mike McDaniel. I think I said this before. I won't go back. I fucking hate that guy, dude. But I was gonna say it's funny you mentioned the Chiefs because I feel like the last time there was an offensive coordinator that was so hyped up, it was Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs
Yeah.
for Mahomes' first couple of years, and then he got brought on by the Commanders, and I'm pretty sure he's coaching fucking high school football right now. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. He went
washed out.
to college and then dropped that too.
Yeah, he washed out so quick. He went from like this guy is the future head coach, like he's an offensive minded guy, and just disappeared out of the league in 2 years after he left the Chiefs. So, you do have to be a little bit concerned if you're a Ben Johnson. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of talk about
Mm-hmm.
him. He's obviously a big name, but you know, I'd be nervous if I were him to leave that job. That sounds like a pretty good job. I would stay as well.
Yeah.
But to go back to your point, Martin Freeman, I think he'll probably stay with Notre Dame, but I do just want to say that he was a Cincinnati Bearcats coach.
Oh, here we go.
He did coach them during their prime. He coached them up until the 2020 season, which was the year before they went to the playoffs. But that was the year they really started picking up steam on that defense, and he was a linebackers DC kind of guy there. So in my mind, Notre Dame is basically the Cincinnati Bearcats in this championship.
Oh my
How I'm
God.
taking it. So
Anything to get Cincinnati where they'll never be.
also, it kind of pisses me off a little bit, not to get into a super specific Cincinnati Bearcats rant here, but like we had Fickle, okay? Fickle was a great coach, great recruiter. And then we basically let him walk. Like we didn't pay him what he wanted, I'm pretty sure. And so he went to this team, he went to, I believe, Nebraska.
No, he's
Nebraska,
Wisconsin, didn't he? Didn't he go to Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, yes, Wisconsin, my bad. One of those fucking, I don't know,
Red
mountains.
schools, yeah.
Yeah. And like is fine. They did good this year. They're like they were fine. I don't know. They were fine. But at that time, we hired this shit stain of a coach right now. We could have hired Freeman. Like the
Yeah,
Bearcats
he came
could have
back.
hired Freeman. There were so many good coaching candidates, and I feel like the Bearcats let one go through their fingers and then hired the worst possible option. I feel like we're pretty far off from the Cincinnati Bearcats. Natty, from where I'm
Oh,
standing here,
it's gonna
fellas.
be a while, Brian.
I think we're pretty.
Yeah.
Hey man, shout out Sorsby though. He's had some good moments this season. The
So real
defense
quick, who do
back.
we think is gonna win the Natty here?
Ohio
Ohio
State.
State or Notre Dame? Who do we got?
Ohio State all day. Not even. I don't think. Not even close. I don't have to hesitate.
You
Ohio
guys want to
State.
Do you
pick
think it'll be a
scores?
close game though, Dylan? Like,
10 points.
Okay. All right.
interesting.
I'm obviously rooting for Notre Dame. I would probably have Ohio State winning this. I would say 27-20, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think
27,
last
20.
week I said whoever wins the Ohio State Texas game is gonna win the title.
Yeah.
Um,
That was our take that was our
right,
podcast
Our
take. So
right.
collective, yeah.
Notre Dame looked better than I had seen in previous weeks, though, I think. So, I mean, if they can ride that high, essentially, I think they have a pretty good chance and to
yeah,
make
I
it
think
at
I
least a
was.
good game. You know what I mean? Like,
I just don't. I honestly don't think we have gotten to see Notre Dame really get tested. Georgia fucking sucked because they were starting some guy with some fucking Woods
mhm.
name. Uh, Indiana, terrible frauds. Penn State played arguably the worst game because once again their play calling. They do this every time when something was working. Katron Allen was getting like 13 yards of carry, and they were like, "No, no, no! Watch this. We're gonna let Drew Aller cook." Idiots. All they had to do was run, and now we finally get to see Ohio State's not going to do that shit. Like they know what they're
Right.
good at, and they're gonna shove it right down your throat. They're gonna run the ball. Will Howard's gonna do what he needs to do. I think this is the first time they're going to play a team that's competent, to be honest with you.
Right. I still
Yeah.
think Notre Dame is going to be riding that high to make it a close game, though. I don't think it's going to be like a 10-point game
Yeah.
or blowout or
They
anything
just
like
lost their
that.
starting tackle. They just lost at last game in the Penn State game and lost their starting D end.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Those
They
are
did.
two
Mhm.
big injuries. Those are two
True.
huge injuries.
I don't know. I think Ohio State's still going to win, but I think it'll be closer than what a lot of people are thinking, basically.
Yeah, and I just need to gloat too because I've had this since March that I put the bet in that they'll win it all. So I really just want to feel good about myself that I had Ohio State in March winning it all. So
There
it's
you
more
go.
personal
Wow.
Perfect.
because that means I'd have the Heisman and the college football champion in the same year. But I just want to let
Nice.
everyone know that.
Imagine
I
if you
want to
parlayed that.
Yeah, yeah. If I had the fucking nuts, dude, that would have been nice. But I'm a pussy.
All right, well, let's get into some NFL playoff talk here. We had what, five of the six games go on this past weekend. We got another one tonight. We are recording on Monday before the Rams and Vikings. But what was your reaction to some of these games here? Like some of the more exciting games, not some of these blowout shit games.
Yeah, let's not talk about the Steelers at
Yeah.
all. Let's just
We
I'm
can
okay
just
with
skip right past that. We don't need to.
if you're not a
Out of
Steel,
all of them, honestly, yeah, for real though. Out of all of them, that was yeah, it gets worse. Not there's nothing.
that was the worst game by far. I mean, I don't know if I can. I mean, I guess we can start with the first game that happened this weekend, which was Chargers Texans.
Mhm.
Um, uh, we put this in the group chat. Dylan was the only one who picked the Texans to win. I woke up that morning and I had a really bad feeling about picking the Chargers. And it just kind of felt like I a little bit got swept up in the media storm of like the Texans are bad, they're uninteresting,
Right.
we don't like them. And it's like, well, they're still pretty good. They're still fine. Like the Chargers are a little bit of an unproven team, and I think that's sort of what we saw is that, they are a little bit of an unproven team. They were really efficient in the regular season, and then when you come into the playoffs, it shit turns up a notch. It turns up a
I,
notch,
I will
and if
say
you're not prepared for that, then you're going to get your ass kicked.
yeah, I will say the Chargers, I think are going to be set up for good next year if they can have a good draft and get some wide receiver help and a little bit of help in the secondary. So I think the
Yeah, their
Chargers are
secondary
like
is fine. Their secondary is good. I
Yeah,
mean,
Derwin James is the truth.
Derwin James is probably the best
I guess
safety in
more
the league.
depth is what I'm getting at because they looked a little
Yeah.
beaten later on in the
They
game against the Texans. And, it's only one extra game, but still, playing an extra game where some of these guys aren't used to it, like it can take its toll on some of these players. So having
yeah.
that little bit of depth, I think, would probably help them in the near future. But I think they're set up for a good short-term success here in the next couple of years.
They definitely need receivers. I'll say that.
Right.
Their linebackers are also a little bit weaker. They drafted a really good corner. I want to shout out Tarheeb Steele out of Maryland. Has like played insanely well. I think he was a fourth rounder. Has played really well. I think he was a little bit um, not highlighted as much in the game this weekend. Um, but yeah, their linebackers are pretty rough. Their receivers are really bad. There, I was watching, obviously Justin Herbert. The story of this game is that Justin Herbert threw four picks, kind of played them out of the game. And I'm not gonna lie, the fact that he has to target Quentin Johnston all the time is a
Hey,
huge part.
Johnston had a decent season compared to what he was his
Well,
In
first.
yeah,
comparison, I'll give him that. Yeah, he definitely did better.
that was the thing everyone was talking about, right? Is that like the last week of the season, he had a career high, like 160 yards and a touchdown on six catches or something like that. And then this game, he was targeted three times and resulted in two picks and had no catches.
Right.
So he's still just a super inconsistent receiver. And I think the thing with Herbert is that Herbert trusts him too much. He
Hmm.
sees that he's a big body guy and he lofts those up and expects him to win those matchups. And then he loses those matchups and then the ball gets picked or tipped, and then it's a problem. And they started playing themselves into this massive hole because they just were throwing these dumb balls. And then before you know it, your running game, which is supposed to be what the Chargers' bread and butter is, they have to kind of take a step away from that too. So overall, it was just a really disappointing game from the Chargers because I feel like they
Right.
beat themselves. The Texans are good enough to take advantage of this situation, but the Chargers beat themselves 100%.
Right. Definitely agree.
I'm,
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
I
still
thought
on.
this
I'm
game was
still
going
on
to
the
be way
Justin
more
Herbert.
competitive. So,
Yeah, all Justin Herbert for me, man. It's the only thing I said that when we did our QB thing because I think I had him like 3 spots lower than you guys, and that was the only thing I said was he's got to fucking prove it. He's this guy that like every single person's like, well, yeah, but if you watch him, like he's really good, but like okay, that's really cool. Like I think he has a lot of potential, but he doesn't prove it. I think the stat was against winning teams this year. He was like 3-3 and fucking 8 or something like that. He was not very good. Most of their wins came against really bad teams.
right.
Obviously, in the playoffs, he's had two performances terrible. I think he's averaged a 50% completion rating, 4 picks, 1 touchdown. Like he's just I don't know, man. Like I just got to now. Obviously, it doesn't help. He doesn't have the greatest receivers, but I got to see more. Like we can't. I can't put a guy. We can't keep putting a guy like top six, and then like this is what we get at. If you're top six, I feel like you got to be able to carry a fucking team. Like we've seen some of these top guys that don't have the greatest receiving core carry teams. Like Lamar for the longest time didn't have a great receiving core and was still producing crazy numbers. Obviously, Mahomes never had a really good receiving core, produces great numbers. Like I just got to see. I need to see more out of him. And I don't think we're talking enough about C.J. Stroud. Everyone was down on him, and then
Right.
dude comes out. I think he's just a gamer. Like I think he legitimately is just a super competitor. And I'm actually really excited to see him play against the Chiefs here because
Uh,
I don't think they're going to do good. He's a competitor, dude, and I don't think he's going to just like lay down.
I could see this game being actually more competitive than people are thinking. I think that I know the consensus all season has been like, oh, the Chiefs are having an off year and whatnot,
Yeah,
but
it said that 3 years straight. Yeah,
right, I don't know. I just have a feeling this game is going to be closer than people think. I'm still not sold that the Chiefs are like this super powerhouse
well,
team and everything. Like,
the Chiefs are going to roll. The Chiefs will be in the AFC Championship. Obviously, it's
I
going to
hope
happen.
not. But
Yeah, I
I
would
have a
not.
feeling it's what's going to happen.
I would not bet against the Chiefs at this point against the
Never,
Texans.
dude. Never. That's all.
Mhm.
That's all I did last year. Just bet on the Chiefs. What was the second game? Was that the Bills Broncos?
Bills Broncos, yeah. Well,
Poor
technically the
Bo
third
Nix.
game,
Well,
but
the second
Oh,
game was
Nix.
the Steelers Ravens. If we do
Yeah,
want to talk about it, just to touch on it, I mean,
yeah. I'll touch on it. All right. I'll fucking Nah, I won't even go there. The Steelers. I will say, as a Steelers fan for quite a while now, I'm just getting tired of it. I know we said in our group chat that some guys said that we are being a little bit too spoiled, but at the same time, if the same outcome every year is just get embarrassed in the first round of the playoffs, I don't. I think that equates to the same thing as just losing and not making the playoffs. I don't think either of those equate to the same thing. I think I just don't understand. There's not really a big difference for me. Like
Right.
when I look at the Cincinnati Bengals season and our season, I think it's basically the exact same thing. While yes, we made it into the playoffs, if every single year, which we keep doing this, is we're expected to lose, then I don't understand how that's a victory. And I would much rather have a truly bad season and get a good draft pick rather than Tomlin keep his whatever season. Because what does that really get us? That doesn't get us any closer to a Super Bowl. Like I just don't. I'm
Right.
not sure about that. And the Ravens, kudos to them. They played great. Yeah, they're really good. I don't have much
Couldn't
to say
agree
about
more, Dill. I'm on that same boat. I don't know if I may have overreacted a bit in our group chat where I said we just need to fire Tomlin and burn everything down and start from scratch. But I'm on the same boat. Like we just need like a genuinely bad season. Like I would almost look forward to that so we could get some good young talent in a like with some good draft picks. Like
Yeah, we're never going to
drafting,
get a good QB drafting fucking 20th. Like that's how we get
right.
Kenny Pickett. Okay,
Yeah,
that's how we get
drafting
Kenny Pickett.
somewhere between 22 and 26 every year, like that's just not gonna be able to sustain a good team. Like you're gonna get maybe that one player who slips or something along those lines, but you're never gonna be able to get a star-studded overall team, basically.
Unlikely.
So
Yeah, I mean it's quarterback play for the Steelers. Unfortunately, that's pretty tough. I am, I guess, the rare Steelers fan who doesn't want to fire Tomlin and tank. Um, because again, that you got a lot of teams in the league that pick top 10 not by choice, and those picks don't always work out. Look at the Jets, for example. They're a team that's always down there and they whiff on quarterback. And so to assume that the Steelers would just get a good talented player fall into their laps because they had
so
a bad season is not necessarily true. And you're on a slippery slope. Once you fire a good coach, how many losing seasons do you then have to rack up before you get a good quarterback? I just don't think that that's a very good strategy. And I think obviously Tomlin not doing well in the postseason sucks as a Steelers fan, but unfortunately, I just don't think that that's a good process to find
I
talent to try and be bad. I don't think that's a good
I
process.
don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think even if Tomlin had like a 5 or 6 win season and was like bad and was fighting for like a top 10 pick or something, I don't think he would be fired for that because even if we did have a bad season, got a good pick, he has the capabilities himself and to bring in other like the Steelers franchise just to be able to bring in other high level coaching talent to help develop that where they could turn that around to be successful the following year. Like it's not like they would be stuck in a rut for years on years.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we're
my thing
we're
too
sitting
is
here
like
and we're sitting here and we're saying that and we're just assuming that that would be the case.
Right,
And obviously, I think Tomlin is one of the few coaches who gets a mulligan, who would get
right.
like a really bad season and we would be fine. But again, the assumption that being bad once and then we are fixed because we're able to pick high is, I think, the flaw in the logic there. Because if we whiff on that pick, then we are all of a sudden bad for a really long time. And I think, unfortunately, for Steelers fans, I think we just kind of have to settle into this and just look for the small wins. I think it was really huge that the Steelers took two shots on quarterbacks this year and basically traded for Fields, and it was a cut and dump or whatever with the Wilson trade or whatever. But like they took two shots on quarterbacks. They could have kept Kenny Pickett. My thought was the Steelers of the past couple of years would have kept Kenny Pickett until his contract expired and then drafted somebody else. But they
he
said,
was real
no,
bad.
we're
Thank
getting rid of him. We're going to try Russell Wilson. We're going to try Kenny Pickett, or we're going to try Justin Fields. I mean, And that is progress in my opinion. I think this offseason is going to be a really big one for the Steelers. Um, Currently, we're the favorites to land Aaron Rodgers.
Ugh.
I
Jesus
mean, who the
Christ.
fuck knows what that would look like? But I also wouldn't rule out us potentially trading up and taking a quarterback. And maybe Tomlin understands that, hey, this is not working and we do need to move up. And all I gotta say is if that does happen and the Steelers take like Shadur Sanders or some shit, I don't want to
Ugh.
hear any complaining. I don't want to hear anybody saying,
Oh fuck yeah! If he takes Shadur Sanders, I won't say another word ever.
why did we trade up so much to get a bad quarterback? I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any complaints if we make a move like that because that's the kind of stuff that teams cripple themselves doing, making big moves like that to appease the fan base. That's the kind of stuff that sucks. And
Yeah.
the Steelers are far off. Again, we spent another section of this talking about the losing team because we liked that team more. So I will just say that I still think the Ravens are the most complete team. The Steelers have a long way to go. The Ravens are in win now mode. They're probably going to be good for the next 4 years. And so, this was a tough game to watch because that was more apparent than ever that the Ravens are here. They're going to compete for the ring, and the Steelers are just kind of lost a little bit. So, yeah, I'm picking the Ravens to win the Super Bowl based off of that performance. I don't think they're.
I,
I don't think
that's
there's a
the same thing though. I'd say about like Notre Dame. I mean, I can't base anything much off that. Like the Steelers fucking sucked.
Right.
Like the Ravens doing good, I don't think was a product of the Ravens being really good on that game, particularly as the Steelers. That's where I was when I came in the chat the other day. Was like that was the first time in a long time I've seen the Steelers defense, which is Tomlin's calling card. They didn't even give a fuck. Like that was the worst effort I've seen of a Steelers defense in a long time. TJ Watt's going now 195 snaps without getting any stat. 195 snaps, no stats. Like that's insane. Like we're like, what are we doing anymore? That's always been Tomlin's calling card is, well, God damn it, they're going to play hard. That did not look like playing hard to me. That looked like we didn't give a fuck from the beginning of that game. That was the least effort I've seen from a Steelers team. That was like what stemmed it all from like because you know what you hear this all the time. Like once a team, like a locker room doesn't give a fuck, well, like now we're in trouble. And that was
Right.
the first time I've seen a locker room not like that. We did not give a good. That is not a Steelers Ravens give. Like by the third time, you know what's going down here. Like we understand how we're going to play this game, and we did. We let them. We let Derrick Henry run for like 200 yards. That's insane. Like we know what they want to do, and we didn't. That was just terrible effort. But yeah, obviously the Ravens are good. I just don't think. I don't think they're as good yet. I want to see them against the Bills.
Yeah, that'll definitely be my game of the year right there. Bills Ravens. I think that's gonna be the most entertaining game to watch in my opinion.
Talking about the Bills, how do we think they looked against the Broncos?
We
I,
kicked
for
the
one,
shit.
thought the Broncos were going to do a little bit better, even slightly better
Rookie.
than what they did.
I don't know what would lead you to believe that, Mitch. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Just
It's a rookie, dude. Rookies in the
more,
playoffs, their
more
stats
than
are
7 points, especially
nah,
after that first
no.
quarter there. Well, I guess what the
Rookie.
first drive or what was it when Bo Nix hit that 70-yard pass or whatever? I was like, all right, the Broncos are in it. This is going to be a good game, and then downhill.
I
Yeah.
think, like Brian said about the Chargers and how everyone kind of had the hype train, I think a lot of
Mhm.
people got caught up in the Denver hype train because
Yep.
they got better throughout the year. But then I think also people forgot that the Buffalo Bills, they were just good. Like they were just good
Right.
all year. Like they had maybe 2 games they didn't look good, but they were pretty damn dominant. And for a rookie QB to try to come in and play like that, like good luck. I don't know what the stat is, but I'm pretty sure the rookie QBs in their first game of the playoffs ever is not good. So shout out to Jaden Daniels for that. But yeah, like Bo Nix just looked overwhelmed. Bills looked like they could have fucking benched everyone at half. It didn't even look competitive.
I
People also forget that the Broncos could have locked up their playoff like contention, whatever. They could have like clinched the playoffs like 4 weeks ago, and it ended up getting down to like the last week. So I think people also really overrated the the Broncos coming into this game. And it's unfortunate because again, had they clinched that playoff seeding a little bit sooner, they could have been the 6 seed or the 5 seed. And then, if they play the Texans, maybe they beat the Texans. Maybe
Hmm.
they could beat the Steelers if the Steelers somehow won their division in an alternate reality or whatever. But like they played the worst possible team because the Bronco or the Bills, I mean, are just they're built to
Juggernaut.
blow
Right.
shit out the water right now.
And like
So
I said, I
that's
had a feeling the Broncos were going to lose. I was just hoping it was a little bit more of a competitive game. Like, you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, you got two teams hitting their stride full on as with the Ravens and
right.
the Bills. Like this, they're both
yeah.
they're going on all cylinders. Like Brian said, this might be one of the biggest games I can remember in the last like 5 years, where like two teams are just going, and it's not even in the AFC Championship. Like these two
Right.
teams
Yeah.
have both been like hyped up for so many years. There's so much riding on this.
The
Both teams keep
MVPs.
getting
One of these,
fucked by Pat Mahomes.
like this game has the MVP in it. We just don't know which one it is yet. Like this game is
They might decide it. You think this could decide it?
the voters aren't supposed to take playoffs into consideration, but I
Yeah,
do
but
think
that's like
that they might take it into consideration. Nobody's
I
gonna
feel like
vote
they should come
top
out before and be like, "Hey, yo, like whoever looks better here wins
right.
MVP." That would be
Because
so fun if
they're
both the voters
supposed
were like,
to it's supposed to be the voting starting is like or has already started is what it's supposed to be because then it's revealed and tallied the week before the Super Bowl. So they're not supposed to take any of that into consideration. But again, maybe it will. Um, I think it's Lamar, but that's just me, I guess. Um,
"Yeah, I think it'll just be because they don't want to give him three in a row."
yeah, and that sucks because it's just like what's his name, fucking
Same,
LeBron and
yeah, same
Michael
happened to
Jordan,
Joker. Yeah, Joker 3 years
Jokic.
ago
Yeah,
should have got three in a row, but Embiid took one because they didn't want to give it to him three times.
yeah, it's kind of the same thing where it's just like. Because it sucks because you're like it's one of those situations where Lamar is having a better season this year than he had last year when he was the MVP. And so
Hmm.
it's just tough to then turn around and be like, well, you're not actually the best player in the league anymore. And we're going to give it to Josh Allen, who's having a great season as well. But it's like he's having a better season than Josh Allen statistically. And so if you're just looking at giving it to the guy who deserves it. I don't know. It's tough. I like Josh Allen. I certainly will not be upset if Josh Allen wins. I love Josh Allen. He's my second pick here, and he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. But
Right.
I think
Well,
it's
getting into our next game here for the playoffs, we had the Eagles and Packers.
yeah.
Um,
This
One
one is
hurts me.
this one will be
Hurts
this
me.
one could be short because let me
right.
just say something real quick. Jordan Love, dude. Jordan Love fucking sucks. I'm gonna come
He's
out. I'm gonna take the
underwhelmed.
brave stance. Jordan Love is ass, dude. I'm sorry. He's ass.
He underwhelmed a lot this year, I would say.
I
Like,
don't know
Yeah, he
why.
didn't. He didn't play well. He didn't play well. Give him that. That hurts me.
I feel like I haven't watched every Jordan Love game this year, but I feel like every time I've watched Jordan Love, his stat line it will be like 12 for 27 and 140 yards and a touchdown and a pick. And it's just like that's ass, dude. That is fucking terrible. Why is he hyped up to be like a top 10 quarterback this year? Like he kind of sucks, dude. Like Josh Jacobs, shout out to Josh Jacobs, shout out to those wide receivers. Shout out to even like the defense played well for at least a little bit of this game, but like, dude, Jordan Love, man, he's not it. The Packers will not win a Super Bowl with Jordan Love at the helm. I think
I
this
want
was,
to defend him a little bit. He lost his WR1. Give him a break a little. Like that's tough. That's tough to
I
lose
think
your
it was
WR1.
but
coming off of last
that's a
year's.
team where their WR1 changes every week because Christian
True.
Watson was bad for
Right.
the first 8 weeks of the season, and everyone was talking about Jaden Reed, and then everyone was talking about Dontavian Wicks, and then everyone was talking about Romeo Dobbs, and then
But I
everyone was
also
talking
think
about
too, we
fucking Luke
just watched
Musgrave.
we watched Justin Herbert have also an equally terrible game and lose his team also a game. So like I'm back and forth because yeah, like I was pretty high on Jordan Love coming into it, but I just feel like he's getting way more ripped on than Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert played equally as bad, if not worse. Like and against a better team, like the Eagles are clearly better than the
Right.
Houston
Well, I
Texans. Like
think the uh the preseason hype around Jordan Love falling over from last year's playoff appearance and
yeah,
season
he was on an
was
eight
like
game
I think
heater.
that's why
Yeah.
people had higher expectations for him. And when he didn't meet that, people were taking it harder now. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah. He also missed
they
first
put him
five
on that higher
weeks.
pedestal, and he didn't meet that. So people were like, "Oh, Jordan Love is just shit now."
I want to give him a true year, hopefully next year, where he doesn't get hurt in the very first game with a torn MCL and miss 5 weeks. Like that really sucks to do that. Did he come back? Great, no. But I don't think I don't think we're giving him quite the fair judge. He definitely lost his game, 1,000,000% lost this game for him. But yeah, I'm not going to overreact too much. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think he had a good game. Some
Yeah,
people don't have good games.
yeah,
Right.
he's cheeks. So
I mean, Jalen Hurts played bunch too. Like, thank God Jordan Love wasn't doing good because the Eagles would have lost that fucking game. Because
hey,
Jalen Hurts did not play well at all. He threw for
I,
he had like a 60 or not even, I think it was 58% completion rate. Like, he just wasn't very good.
13 of 21, 131 yards.
Yeah, like he was not. He didn't
so
do great either. The receivers weren't getting that much separation. Obviously, Saquon did well, and he could have done even better. He slid on that one, but
and the Eagles
yeah,
defense,
Jordan Love didn't throw those picks. Like it's a good ass game.
yeah, and the Eagles defense is really good. So it's the only credit I'll give, Jordan Love is that I believe, at least in my mind, that the Packers went up against the best defense.
Mhm.
Maybe outside of the Vikings, they went up against the best defense in the playoffs this week. So
Yeah, I'd be a little. If I'm the Eagles, I'm a little worried because like I'm gonna hope that's my worst performance because I'm gonna tell you it gets a lot harder after this. And if the Eagles are
right.
gonna play like that, good fucking luck. Jalen Hurts. You're not winning games with Jalen Hurts throwing 130 yards. Like no chance. That's not how they got to the Super Bowl last time. Granted, they have Saquon, but like some of these teams they're gonna shut him down. Like it's inevitable as you get better with these better defenses here. Like they got to figure that shit out. Like I don't think that's a recipe to continually win if Jalen Hurts is going to be that.
Yeah. I mean, hey, AJ Brown had enough time to read a book on the sidelines. So
What the fuck? And then he's saying like he does it all the time. Like, dude, get like
Get out of
what?
here.
Nothing screams more to me than I want all the attention. Then I'm going to bring my fucking book on the sideline that says "See ball, get ball." Oh my god! Like, dude, like, come
See,
on, bro. That's
it was
ridiculous.
it was
That's
funny. I
attention.
liked Jalen Hurts' response to it because Jalen Hurts was like, they asked him if he does actually bring that book all the time, and Hurts was like, "Yeah, I do see the book. I don't see him reading it though." Like,
Yeah, dude,
yeah, he does
I don't
bring
think
it.
he flipped the fucking page. He's like LeBron, where LeBron always has like LeBron's like bookmarks always in the first page or some shit. And he's like,
LeBron,
"Oh no, this book's great."
LeBron's got the book and he's got it on the first page. That's my favorite fucking LeBron meme where it's like LeBron has a book in his locker and it's the
It's always
bookmark
on
is
the
in the
first fucking
first
page.
pages. And it'll just be like, no, no media availability today, guys. I'm reading. And he'll just like sit there staring at the front page
He
of the
never
book.
flips a page, dude. He never
It's
flips a
so
page.
funny. Dude, LeBron. Oh man, we can cut this part. Did you guys see the video of LeBron rapping that one Kendrick song and he doesn't know a fucking single word?
Dude, when
So
he was in the
funny.
car,
It's the one where it's like, I don't know if you listen to GNX, but the one that's like, I deserve it all. Blah, 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 blah. I deserve it all. He doesn't know any of the words except for I deserve it all.
is he? Yeah, because he always does that thing with his fucking hand. He just like hand down his face too, and
Yeah,
he's always
it
like,
was at it was
Mhm.
at his own birthday party this year. It was so fucking embarrassing, dude. Uh, I love that shit. I fucking love LeBron.
"Shout out LeBron. He's coming on next. That's our next guest. We didn't want to spoil it, but
Here we
LeBron
go.
James is coming on.
LeBron James is coming on the podcast. He's gonna address the rumors that he doesn't know the lyrics to any song that's ever been put out.
Well, getting into our last game of the playoffs over the weekend here, we had Washington and Tampa Bay. What'd you guys think of
Yeah, I
this
only
one?
know one guy that called that upset. I don't know who that was, but that was me, guys. It was me.
Yeah, whatever. I I don't know. I'm always a big fan of Baker. I thought he would be able to take care of the Commanders here. And like you said earlier, rookie quarterbacks don't play well. Well, Jaden Daniels
Hey,
played
Jane
decently
Daniels,
enough to get a
dude,
win.
like what everyone says though, like they don't think he's a rookie. He plays well above a rookie.
Yeah.
Still, I don't
Um,
know. It was
yeah,
it was a good game. I will say that. Like even though the
Yeah, I
Bucks
didn't
lost,
watch
like
it.
it was a good close game. Like
yeah. The parts that I watched, it seemed like it was a close game. It seemed like it was going to come down to the wire, and it did. Um, yeah, I think I kind of put it on Baker as well. I just assumed that if it came down to a sling fight that Baker would out throw Jaden Daniels, and
Mhm.
from what I could tell, it wasn't that kind of game. So,
Well,
Jaden Daniels is able to use his feet. He's, an incredible running quarterback. He's an incredible decision maker, which is what I think is the most impressive thing about him for me anyway, because I thought that was a downside of him in the draft, is that I thought he made bad decisions. He's a really good decision maker. And so, it's a situation where Bucks got outplayed, they got outcoached. And again, a situation where that game could have gone either way, and it went the way of the Commanders this time.
right.
So
I
I'm
will
happy
say,
for him.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I will say Baker had you know, stat-wise, a pretty decent game. Only
Yeah, I don't
three
think he
completions.
I don't think he lost the game for him. I wouldn't say he
No,
lost the game for him. He played
right.
well.
Baker went 15 of 18, which not a lot of passing attempts, but still, like, only
Well,
three completions.
Bucky Irving was cooking. Did he ran
Hmm.
for what, almost 100 something? Did he run for 100?
77.
Yeah, okay.
So
So,
Bucky is
I
good, dude.
mean, yeah, Bucky's the truth. What did Rashad White do, Mitch?
1 carry, 1 yard.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what was he, the sixth best running back this year, right? Or fifth? What was
Well, he
that?
had 2 catches for 14, so 15 total yards
Nice.
on the night.
Fucking
That'd be really
impact.
good if he was a receiver. Actually, it wouldn't be. It'd be fucking terrible if he was a receiver.
Yeah.
It'd still be bad.
Yeah. I'm
I wish there
excited.
was someone on this podcast who called Bucky Irving being good and taking over that starting job. I wish there was somebody who
Yeah,
called that.
whatever.
It would've
Good
been-
shit, though. Good shit. That was a good call. And I like his name, Bucky. What a cool
Hmm.
name.
Yeah.
I'm happy though. I'm happy for the Commanders. I think they have a tough matchup, but kudos to them. Like Green, like you said, Green put that big thing in our chat. Like
Hmm.
it was their Super Bowl basically, like getting a playoff win. So that's huge for them, especially for the young guys. So
Yep. Well, here we have just a recap of our picks from the NFL playoffs here. I don't have the final scores of who got what for each game, but
Ravens was Brian, right?
Yeah, so my math had it as I got the Ravens game. I believe Mitch, you technically
Yeah.
got the Bills Broncos game, which sucks because you were really far off, but if in total points, you were actually the closest.
mhm,
And then Dylan got the Texans, Dylan got the Commanders.
right.
Uh, just looking kind of these last,
Yeah, I didn't look at the Eagles
remember that
one.
I would
What
have
was
to
the
say
score of that?
Brian,
Yeah, what was the score of the Eagles game?
22-10.
22-10. Yeah, so that would be me.
Oh, you fucking bastard. I was so close.
Okay. So yeah, not bad. So we got what, two people with two wins, one person with one win.
That's cool.
Yeah, I could have picked that.
And then we have the Vikings and Rams game tonight.
Mitch, you could come
Hey,
back right
I
here.
know if the
Yeah.
Rams win it, baby, all I got to do is have them win. I don't care about the score, but
I will say, as of right now, we are about 12 minutes away from kickoff on that game, and I gotta say, I feel like the Rams might win that game, but that's just me. I don't know. It's gonna be a fucking shit show probably.
I'm
Uh,
excited for it. I think it'll be actually a good game.
yeah, I mean it's one of those situations where I think this is another game like the Bucks Commanders where everyone has been all over the place with the results of this one.
Hmm.
You have some people who are like, oh, the Rams are the one team you don't want to play in the playoffs because they're sneaky good. But then you also have people saying that the Vikings are the best 5 seed of all time. So
Yeah.
it's one of those games where it's like both of these teams, nobody wanted to play and they're playing each other. So
Right.
the real loser might actually end up being the Eagles because they have to play whichever of those teams.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into our upsets and locks here for next week's games. Again, these aren't really, upsets and locks. We're going through and picking um, a winner and score for each of the NFL playoff games here. And then we'll whoever gets closest to whoever gets the winner and closest to the score will get the point for that matchup. So Dylan, how about you get us started here first with the Texans Chiefs?
Ooh. um. Well, I'm definitely going to go Chiefs here. You just the age old thing. You just don't bet against the Chiefs, no matter what. Even if you're eventually going to lose, but it doesn't happen much. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Chiefs. I think it's gonna be a moderately close game. I'm gonna go Chiefs. Give me Chiefs 31, Texans 24.
Interesting. All right, Brian, what do you got for this game?
Yeah,
Give us your
I think
knowledge and insight.
thank you. I think this is going to be a low scoring game again.
Ooh.
This feels like Chiefs 24, Texans 13. This feels like a low scoring game. It feels like the Texans are kind of out of it early, but you just kind of grind the rest of it out. Maybe they score a couple field goals. So 24-13 Chiefs.
Kind of looks like
All
the
right.
Steelers Ravens game.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs are going to win this one as well. I think it's going to be a
Shocking.
bit more of a blowout, though. I
Ooh,
think this
calling the
one's going to
blowout.
be like a 35-17 type game. Um,
35.
Okay.
All right.
so
Is that a scoregami? We had a scoregami this weekend.
we did.
Mm,
I was excited about it.
that score feels common. I don't think that's a score, I mean, but it is an interesting score to pick.
Yeah.
All right.
Next game, we got Commanders and Lions. Brian, you want to give us your pick there?
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
ooh.
This is a tough game.
Call it. Do it. Call the upset.
I'm not caught. The
Do
thing
it.
is, if the Lions had played a different team, like if the Bucks had won and the Lions had matched up against the Vikings or the Rams, I probably would have picked the Rams or the Vikings. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I do think that Jaden Daniels being a rookie quarterback, I think that catches up to him. I think the Lions have enough juice in the tank to get one win in this playoffs. They got the perfect matchup for that. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Lions here, and I will be taking the Lions 31-26. No, sorry.
Whoa.
No, Lions 30-25.
30-25.
Yeah, so yeah.
So
All
you think
right.
it's gonna be close though?
I do think it is going to be close. I think this is
Okay.
again, I mean, the fucking Lions have a terrible defense at this point. So I do think the Commanders are going to put up some points, but I think the Lions are going to put up a few more.
Hmm. Interesting. Dylan?
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think Lions are gonna put on a little bit of a show here. I'm gonna go 42-24.
Wow. Okay. Bit of a
Yeah,
blowout.
yeah, I do think it's gonna be a blowout. I really do.
I'm gonna go with the Lions here as well, surprisingly. Um, I'm gonna go sort of a close game here. I think it's gonna be 20-14.
Okay.
Really,
Really. I think it's
I
gonna
don't ever.
be I
I don't
think
look at the
both
Lions ever as that
both
team.
defenses are gonna not do great, but I think they're gonna do just enough to not let it be like a blowout one way or the other. Like,
I'm honestly kind of hoping they have a gentleman's agreement, both defenses, to just not care, and we just see like fucking light show, dude. I want it to just be fucking 60-59, like just
that
something
would be a
crazy.
fun game, but I don't
Yeah.
see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it
Yeah.
happening for this one. I do have a high scoring affair here for
Let's get into our next guaranteed matchup here for the Ravens and Bills, maybe the game of the playoffs,
Okay.
even potentially bigger than the Super Bowl this year. Um,
Probably, honestly, this is the Super Bowl. Yeah.
right. So I'll go ahead and start on this one. I think the Bills are going to win this. And
Damn it.
I
Now I
think they're
got to
going to
change my
embarrass
pick.
the Ravens. Not like a big blowout, but I think they're going to win by at least 10 plus points overall. But I'm going to go with the Bills' final score to be uh, 27-14.
Okay.
Hmm.
Wow.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I got Ravens, and I'm gonna go 36-32 Ravens. high scoring game. I almost said Ravens 42-40, but I don't think it's going to be that high. I think the Ravens win this game though. And I think similar to Mitch, I think they win by a touchdown. So I'm going to go 36-32, win by 4.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I got to be on the same side as Mitch here. But yeah, I'm also gonna go Bills. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna come down to the wire. I'm gonna go. Bills kick a game-winning field goal to make it 38-35.
38-35. Oof.
38-35 Bills. Yep.
I like that score.
I do kind of think it's going to be back and forth. Like I don't look for these defenses. Like I know they're going to try, but like man, these offenses are just clicking right now.
Right.
I just think it's going to be back and forth, blow after blow. It's going to be fun.
I don't know.
I hope.
Well, for the next round here, we sort of have to do some guessing, all right? Because we have the Eagles locked up. We don't know who's going to be playing them. So, what are we thinking here? Who wants to start this one?
Yeah, I'll start just to get out of the way here because my pick is not going to change ultimately. I will be picking the Eagles to win that game regardless. Um, I think score is really fucking hard because I don't know who they're going to play.
Mhm.
Um, I can give 2 scores and then we just go with the one, whichever
Sure.
team goes. All right. So if the Eagles play the Rams, I see that game going probably 28-14 Eagles. If the Eagles play the Vikings, I see that coming down to the last minute. I would go 20-17 Eagles. I think the Rams are a little bit overrated of a team. I think if they do manage to beat the Vikings, it's a little bit just because they get outcoached. However, talent is going to kind of win out against the Rams if they win. And if the Vikings win, we could see a little bit of a defensive showdown. And so I think that game will be a little bit more low scoring. I think we see a lot of field goals kicked, and I think it'll just end up being Eagles come out on top once again because they just have a slight edge in the talent department.
Interesting. Go ahead, Doe. Give us your take.
I'll do if the Vikings win, which I do believe they will. I believe the Vikings upset the Eagles. I think it's a pretty good game. I'll go 24-17 Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck the Eagles. If the Rams win, which I don't believe they will, I think they get absolutely mollywopped by the Eagles.
Hmm.
Probably something to the tune of like 35-10.
Interesting.
I just don't think they match up well at all with that team.
All right. Well, I am actually going to pick if the Rams win tonight, I think they'll actually beat the Eagles. I think the NFL
Wow.
script has it going to where it's going to be the Rams and Lions in the NFC Championship game. I just have a feeling. Um,
You better
so
check your fucking feelings.
if the Rams
You've
do
already
win
seen that.
tonight, I
You've
think they
already
beat
seen
the
that one.
Eagles. It'll be a close game. Um, I could see it being like a 21-20 game, like last minute touchdown by Matt Stafford or something to get the win.
Okay.
So 20. And then if the Vikings win, I think the Eagles beat them. And I don't think that one's relatively close. I think that one's going to be like a 27. I'll go 28-10 game for that one.
28-10. Okay. No faith in the Vikes.
Nope.
Wow.
I've been a Viking hater all season though, so.
That's true.
But yeah,
Would
that'll
you
do it
put
from us here at the School of Hot Takes. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know where we went wrong, how big of idiots we are, who you think's gonna win the playoffs and potentially even the Super Bowl. And we will see you guys next week. Brian?
This episode was sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Hell yeah.
Pass.
Your sponsor.